Well, good afternoon, everyone. Had a few more folks come in, so thank you all for joining us today. Welcome to Catalina Rotary. It's great to see everyone. We've got a whole slew of folks on Zoom as well, so it's great to see everyone there. Normally, we have a little change of plans here. Normally, we have our speaker after our regular agenda items, but today we're going to have our speaker give his presentation first. But before we do that, I'd like to start the meeting by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you can all join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I believe, Barbara, you're on Zoom, and I think you are doing the invocation today. Is that right?
I am. Thank you very much. And as we join together today in Tucson and from around the country, I'm reflecting on how wonderful it is to be able to come together and to join together in common cause for the things that we believe in. When we think of the things that we can do alone, for example, helping the children at Tepewa, if I were to help them, I could provide 1 or 2 scholarships. But together, we have created scholarships for all of the children on the hill in Tepewa. And if we were buying books for, one of the schools we're supporting, I'm forgetting Andy, and I would only be able to give a couple of books. But because we're working together, we've actually been able to buy books and fill all of them together. So in a time when it seems as though things are falling apart at times, and others are trying to kind of tear us apart from one sector to another, it's wonderful to come together. And today, I am especially grateful that we will be able to hear from Stan about the Native American effort to pull their 11 tribes together to work toward a common cause and succeed in that in a way that we cannot do if we're all working individually and working against one another. So welcome to all of you, and thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Barbara. All right, go ahead and have a seat. And I am going to call up to introduce our speaker today, our prestigious past district governor, Pam Kerr. Thank you so much for joining us. Prestigious.
Wow, thank you, Jimmy. Welcome, everybody. Online, I want to welcome, hi, Wynn. Delighted to see you. I met Wynn during the Zone Institute that was here in Tucson recently, and she expressed an interest in this project and the material. Suzanne Gibson is a past district governor from 6440 Northeast Illinois. Kirk Reed is in the audience in his biking jersey today. Stand up. Can they see you, Kurt? No, but they're, oh.
There you go.
Yeah. Welcome. And Kevin Stevens is the current district governor of 6440. This is, well, it was 70 Rotary clubs. I think it's still close to that number. Northeast Illinois, north of Chicago and wrapping around metropolitan Chicago area. Mary Holcomb from the Barrington Breakfast is in the same club as Suzanne Gibson. Are there other Rotary guests that I see there? Mary, thank you, Mary. So welcome to all of our guests and Rotary friends. Stan, thank you very much. Stan has a very interesting background. I met him when we were meeting his wife, Dawn, a very accomplished artist who does most of her work in the Grand Canyon. So they had a reception at their home in Flagstaff, and Stan and I started talking. And I said, you know, the fact that you've been working with the Native Americans, I think since 2015, and have gotten 11 tribes to come together, and then the National Park Service and the Grand Canyon Conservancy have found a way to bring all of these tribes together and have a presence on the South Rim is just astounding. So I asked if he would come and speak to us and talk about what they have been doing, and perhaps there is a role that Rotary in our club, in the district, in the state, and in the zone or farther afield, like in the Chicago area, might all band together to work and help with this project. In a short bio that the Nature Conservancy has, Stan spent 4 years as a high school physics teacher before going to law school. He then became an attorney in the solicitor's office in the U.S. Department of the Interior, followed by a position in the law department at S.C. Johnson and Sons in Racine, Wisconsin. If you have never been to the Frank Lloyd Wright corporate headquarters of S.C. Johnson's, and you happen to be in the Chicago area, it's worth going up to Racine. It is the most astounding corporate headquarters designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. He he retired as Deputy General Counsel in 2004 at S.C. Johnson. He's served on many nonprofit boards and Flagstaff. He's an actor, he's a director, he's got a wonderful voice. He has a BS in science from the University of Illinois, an MS in physics from Purdue University, yay, Tony, and a JD from the University of Michigan, yay, Sharon. Stan does a lot of backpacking rim to rim, and he and his artist wife, Dawn, have completed no less than 2 10-day trips down the river in the Grand Canyon. So Stan, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Pam. I really appreciate Pam. I really appreciate the opportunity to present to this group. And as Pam detected when we were chatting at our reception, this is something I'm very, very enthusiastic about. And I find it kind of an emotional subject at times. You know, my wife and I have fallen in love with the Grand Canyon, as many, many people have. And there's so many reasons why it's a special place. The magnificent scenery, the wilderness experiences that you can have there. We've had the privilege of doing that. Geology in the Grand Canyon is a huge opportunity for geology students. There are a few places on Earth where so many layers are exposed just for the open viewing. So it's like going back millions of years in history, just hiking down into the canyon. And of course, there's terrific wildlife in the Grand Canyon, several species unique to the canyon. And another interesting thing about the canyon that you get caught onto as you spend more time there is the history of the Grand Canyon. You know, the explorers that have gone through, famous people like Bucky O'Neill and John Wesley Powell, who made the initial trip down the Colorado River with great hardship. Can't imagine rowing a raft with one arm and surviving, but he did that with a group of people. So, you know, we've learned about that. But what I've come to understand recently is something that very few of us know about, and that is the history of the canyon before the white man ever saw it. There were 11 tribes associated with the canyon who were living there and being stewards of that place for thousands of years before the white man ever saw it. We know very little about that history. And there are reasons why perhaps the history isn't often talked about by the Park Service, or hasn't been in the past, because there's a very painful history of the park and the tribes. When the Grand Canyon National Park was established, and of course we're all so grateful that it was established to protect this place. But when the park was established, the tribes who were living there and working there were all forcibly ejected from the park by the Park Service. The Havasupai had a village at what is now called Indian Garden. The Park Service burned that village down and ejected the Havasupai from the park. Not only were they made to leave the park, but for many, many years, they were not even permitted to visit the park. They were banished from their homeland. A shameful period, and their children were taken from them and sent to boarding schools where their culture was erased as much as possible. So with that background, you can understand why the tribes did not have a warm feeling toward the Park Service. And it took a long time to even establish contact with the tribes, between the tribes and the Park Service. But there was a superintendent of Grand Canyon National Park named Dave Ubaraga, who was part Native himself. And back in 2014, Dave made overtures to the tribes, to the 11 tribes, and was successful in forming a tribal council to discuss with them what was going on in the park and what their feelings about it were. Dave got the idea that the site at Desert View, where there's a watchtower that was designed by Mary Jane Coulter, as a tribute to the Native people that had lived in that area. That was built in 1932, and a local Hopi, painted murals inside it, and there's a lot of culture put into that building. But over the years, that got eroded, and when I first visited Desert View, and maybe when some of you did, Xanterra was running it, and the large round kiva room at the bottom of Desert View Watchtower was filled with racks and racks of souvenirs from Taiwan. And it had completely lost the feeling of the Native structure that Mary Jane Coulter intended. Dave, when the lease expired for Xanterra, Dave Ubaraga got the Park Service to take that building over again, and started working with the Grand Canyon Conservancy to change that site back to what it was originally intended to be, which was a Native cultural heritage site. And he started bringing the tribes in there to talk about their stories, to demonstrate their crafts, to interact with visitors and teach them a little about the history. And since then, we've had two more superintendents since Dave retired, and the current superintendent, Ed Keeble, has taken this a step further. And I'd like to play for you now a short video featuring Ed Keeble and one of the tribal members, so you can get a little better feel for what's going on, and then we'll talk in some detail about the project as it's currently underway. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. And let's see here. Okay.
My name is Jonah Hill. I'm Hopi silversmith, and we are at the Desert View Watchtower. Hot fire. I specialize in a jewelry process called tufa casting, which is using a volcanic stone where you carve into one side of the stone and pour metal into it to produce a piece of jewelry. It's a very old process. It was introduced to the Navajo people by the Spanish silversmiths. It eventually made its way out into Hopi. It's a really fun process. You know, the stone is found widely on the reservation. I go out and mine it. Coming into this area, there's a lot of people from across the world, across the United States, who are ignorant of the people of this area. Are you Indian? Do you live in a teepee? Where are all the other Indians? You know, I get that a lot. To me, I kind of take that in stride. As a demonstrator, it's part of what I do is to help to educate them on who the people are in this land, as well as the art forms that we practice, so that they walk away from this place enlightened.
It's important to understand that the Grand Canyon has a really challenging history with our tribal neighbors. It started with how the park was created. We forcibly removed people who lived here from time immemorial. And then for 100 years or so, we kept them from the park. We've essentially made them strangers in their own lands. I've come to realize that I can't manage this park without a true partnership. They understand this place in ways that we don't. They connect to this place in ways that we don't. I'm at the Desert View Watchtower, where we're about to break ground on a new construction project that will allow tribal neighbors to help us both interpret and manage this place. We get 6 million visitors a year to the Grand Canyon. Vending opportunities, cultural demonstrations, that'll help create a complete interpretive experience for our visitors.
The plans for the Desert View Watchtower Cultural Center is something really big and exciting to me. It's going to be huge for Native peoples, Native artists, and for the park itself.
This is a really important cornerstone project to provide a really honest and complete interpretation of the history of the Grand Canyon based on respect for our tribal partners, and expand that vision across the park.
Partnership between the Grand Canyon, the Park Service, and the Native tribes is going to be very important in bridging a gap. Visitors are going to be learning from the tribal people. The park's going to be helping the tribe to bring recognition to this community.
Our tribal neighbors have always been an important part of the park. This project at Desert View will really establish a positive, constructive engagement, and our tribal neighbors will be able to tell their stories themselves. That's really what we're trying to accomplish here. I want to thank all of the friends of the Grand Canyon who've contributed to this project at Desert View, including the Arizona Lottery.
So that gives you an idea of Ed Keeble's attitude toward the tribes, quite a nice change from the past. And in fact, he is involving the Tribal Council in all major decisions involving the park. And I'm pleased to tell you that monuments in the park are in the process of being renamed. Instead of being named for Hindu gods and explorers of recent years in some cases, the renaming will honor the past in a greater way. And Indian Garden is the first site to be renamed, and it's going to be renamed Havasupai Garden for the tribe that used to live there. So I want to share with you now a slide presentation about the Grand Canyon Conservancy's participation in this project and some details about what's going on at Desert View. And at the top of the screen there, you see some pictures of various aspects. On the left is a artist's rendering of the new expanded site with pavilions for the tribes to demonstrate. The second photo from the left is the interior of the Desert View Watchtower. The third photo is one of the many tribal members demonstrating his craft there. Another photo, fourth from the left, is showing Ed Caboti at the bottom of the screen. Ed is the grandson of the man who painted those murals in the Watchtower back in the 1930s. And Ed just completed a project for the Conservancy in 2018, restoring those murals, basically cleaning them all with distilled water. And then finally, a photograph of the Watchtower at Desert View. And it's called Desert View because not only do you have a fantastic view of the canyon and the river, but also the Painted Desert, which is in the Navajo Reservation. So the Grand Canyon Conservancy's mission is to inspire generations of park champions to cherish and support the natural and cultural wonder of Grand Canyon. And there you can see the vision for Grand Canyon. The Conservancy has raised over $300 million to support various projects throughout the park, including 750 miles of trail restoration, the restoration of landmarks such as the historic Kolb Studio, the Bright Angel Trailhead, greatly improved by the Conservancy, and Mather Point. We constructed a greenhouse for native plant propagation and raised funds to support the park's light fixture retrofit, leading to their designation as an international dark sky park. And now, of course, one of our big projects is the Intertribal Cultural Heritage Site at Desert View. This is a quote from the Intertribal Working Group Vision Statement. And you see the quote that we are still here. A project like this is really a big undertaking. The cooperation of all the tribes, as well as the fundraising to construct the project and operate the project. But with this project, the tribes will be able to interpret their stories on their lands. Many of them trace their creation stories to the Grand Canyon. And so the project is being led by the 11 tribes, the Park Service, and the Conservancy. Here's what we've established and accomplished to date. The Intertribal Working Group was established. The conservation of the Desert View Watchtower murals was completed. The cultural demonstration series was established in the tower. And the Ancestral Lands Conservation Corps was initiated to provide job training and conservation work to local Native youth. And there you can see a diagram of the expanded project. The photograph, let's see if I got it correct. The photograph right here is the old bookstore, and that is going to be converted into a welcome center. And it's interesting, I was talking with Ed Keeble a month ago about the welcome center. He had just had a meeting with the Tribal Council and trying to get their ideas for how they would like the welcome center to be. And he said they want to make it like a home. They want it to be warm, welcoming. They want to be welcoming visitors to their home. So the site itself is being completely reimagined. With the working group in the lead, the new plan will highlight the importance of the site and allow for more comprehensive tribal engagement opportunities. From the parking lot to the watchtower, the visitor experience is being redesigned. I just mentioned about the Welcome Center, provide an opportunity for interpretation. Outdoor demonstration area will allow for bread making, agave roasting, and an orientation area to welcome visitors. The image you see here is an artist's rendition of the Ramada design. The work is now in process with interpretive planning and stone cutting. The groundbreaking happens this winter, so anytime now we'll be breaking ground on this project. This slide gives you an overview of the scope of the changes to the site. The design works with the landscape, reclaims the native plants, and utilizes the aesthetic of the 11 tribes throughout. Provides multiple areas for tribes to share, demonstrate, and engage with the 1 million plus visitors to this area of the park. And finally, I'm going to show you a tribal design. This will be in the orientation area. The first place visitors will experience at Desert View. Here you can see the river is an anchor with the tribe's key areas highlighted on the path. Each tribe contributed to the designs you see, and Grand Canyon Conservancy completed the site funding and is now raising funds for the tribal programs to make this site first of its kind in the Park Service. So the construction money has all been raised through some matching grants from the Park Service and a large number of donations, including from several foundations. But the funding still to be done is for the programming at the site. And that's about $600,000 over 3 years to develop the programs with the tribes. And then temporary housing for the tribal members who will be coming to the site to interpret, demonstrate, and tell their stories. 15 trailers would be brought in for that purpose. And so we're raising about $2 million for that project. So overall, the cost of this project is adding up to be close to $10 million. And we're very far along with it. And by next year, there'll be quite a few things to see up there at Desert View. You'll be able to see the progress taking place. So I'm very excited about this project, and I hope it's been helpful and interesting for you to learn about it. If you want to learn more about it, visit the Grand Canyon Conservancy website at grandcanyon.org. And they have a whole series of pages devoted to this, and additional videos with additional tribal members and so on, if you're interested in taking a look at that. So that completes my presentation, and I'm open for questions if you have some.
Thank you so much, Stan. A lot of good information there. And we do have a few questions here. So if you can bear with us, we have a microphone here to pass around to our in-person questions. And also, if you have some questions on Zoom, please raise your hand or comment on chat if you can. So I'll let Andy get things started off with the questions.
Hello, Stan. Andy Kerr here.
Hi, Andy.
I was wondering, it's an incredible project, and it's a pretty daunting amount of funds you're trying to raise. But what do you think a club like ours would be able to contribute beyond cash?
Well, I think one of the opportunities there is that liaison with the tribes. And I think possibly sponsoring a young student to work with the tribes in developing the tribal interpretation, a student who's learning about Indian culture and could work with them to develop their programs. That would be an interesting thing to sponsor, and certainly visiting and interacting with the tribes, the tribal members, would be a great thing to do. And you might get from them some ideas about other things you could do to help the project.
Thank you, Stan. I think I saw a question pop up on Zoom.
I have a question, Stan. I'm Barbara. Two questions, actually. The first one is kind of in the line of what Andy said, is, are there hands-on opportunities for people to go up and work, perhaps long weekends on even some basic kinds of projects? Or are you trying to reserve a lot of that for the Native people, so that perhaps even in a paying capacity? And the second thing was that Pam mentioned that you had hoped that this project would lead to some economic development opportunities on the non-parklands, actually in the homelands of the people today. Is that part of this, or could you speak to that?
Yeah, the tribal members have been talking about offering tours of the tribal lands and basing those tours at Desert View. So it would be a center for the commencement of various tours of the reservation and tribal sites. And I think the more trust we build up with the tribes, the more they're probably going to be willing to share their culture. And it's a fascinating thing. I know my wife and I made friends with a Navajo family, and we were invited to a Navajo wedding a few years ago. And it was a really interesting and unique experience to see the Navajo wedding with the groom riding in on a horse. And I think we miss a lot by not having contact with the tribes, and opportunities to do that are very enriching.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we have time for just one more question. Sharon?
Thank you. What a insightful presentation. Thank you so much, Stan. Our three large universities in the state of Arizona have outstanding Native programming, and students of all levels and professors. Have you engaged them? Do they know this is happening? Are there any thoughts about that?
Yeah, they're very aware that it's happening, particularly here at Northern Arizona University. I was just at a reception last weekend talking with the president of the university about it. There's a great deal of interest in it. There is a Native American Studies program here at NAU. And I have a feeling that some of those folks will be involved with helping for develop the programming with the tribal members. So yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for the students there.
All right, great. Well, let's give Stan a round of applause here. That was a really great presentation.
Thank you.
Stan, thank you so much for joining us today. As you might know, Rotary International, one of its primary missions is the eradication of polio. And so just in your honor, as a sign of appreciation, we're going to contribute to the Rotary Foundation enough money to inoculate 100 children here in your honor. So thank you so
Great.
much
Wonderful.
for joining us. And just want to say thank you again. I know you're pressed for time, so appreciate you sticking by. You can more than welcome to join us. We're going to continue our meeting here. But if you do have to step away, thank you again, and have yourself a great weekend.
Well, thank you very much. I'm old enough to remember polio and how thankful we were for the vaccine when it finally came out. So I'm glad you're doing that work. It's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Pam, for, yes.
On each table are a number of copies of their monthly publication. It's spring, summer of 2020. The lead article is this project. So Stan mailed down a big box full. So if you would like one of those, please take it home. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, I will continue on with our regular agenda items here. And so I'll jump right to see if I know we have a few guests and Rotarians, our visiting Rotarians. So for all of those here joining us today, if you wouldn't mind, Bobby D, I know you have a guest with us today.
Hello. I'm pleased to introduce Nandi Muhammad, who is with the Pima County Juvenile Court System. And she has a rather lengthy title, Juvenile Justice System Improvement, Community Engagement and Education Coordinator. That's a mouthful. So.
Right. Well, welcome.
And Nandi, we work with Nandi as part of NEED, the Network for Equity and Education Development, which she is co-chair of. So we're delighted that she's with us today.
Welcome, Andy. Thank you for joining us. Arturo.
I want to reintroduce my son, Gabriel, who is visiting from ASU. He is on his first winter break. Welcome, Gabriel.
All right, Gabriel, thanks for joining us.
Even though I didn't introduce him the first time, I'd like to reintroduce Tom Sinnard, my across the street neighbor here in Tucson part of the year, and he is a Rotarian in Moses Lake in the Pacific Northwest. So welcome, Tom.
Welcome, Tom. Good to see you again. All right, and I think that's it for guests. I know, Kirk, I'm going to call on you here to introduce a visiting Rotarian. If you wouldn't mind joining me up here, please.
We are honored to have Charlotte Harris with us, and I'm going to let her tell you about her surprising me. She runs a lot of great programs for Rotary, including the indoor ride to end polio this year. And she surprised me when she said we have 100, 150 pictures of eager Rotarians riding. And we chose one of them. And I still don't know why they chose this one, other than he was a very slow rider who was still smiling as he crossed the finish line. So Charlotte, come and tell us whatever you want to.
We chose Kirk because he is stepping up as the chair of the Ride to End Polio effort next year. Before I say a few comments, I'd like to say hello to Suzanne Gibson. I have been the indoor chair for about 7 years, and It was before Suzanne was district governor. She did the Barrington Breakfast indoor ride. You sent me a t-shirt, which I still wear. And thank you so much. For Barrington continues every year to have an indoor ride team. Thank you, Suzanne. And I also wanted to recognize your club. Last year during the COVID, we weren't allowed to do outdoor or indoor rides. Your club did the most innovative thing, I thought. You put together a 50-mile ride along the Relito River, and then I think there were 7 riders, including Ellie Patterson. And then members of your club set up aid stations along the way, which I thought was just too cool. And I have shared that idea with other clubs around the United States who do this. I think we have about 15 clubs this year in 2 districts, which are doing indoor rides. We usually raise about $100,000 totally with the indoor rides. I'm here to ask you to support Kirk Reed's indoor ride. He told me about this on the way coming here today. I am taking him to go pick up his bike that was damaged when he got hurt 140 days ago. And so he did the indoor ride. In 1985, there were between 350,000 and 500,000 children a year who would contract polio. This year, there have been, we just learned, a 4th case in Afghanistan and 1 case in Pakistan. The good news about Afghanistan is the Taliban is now allowing workers to go door to door to immunize the children, which has not been allowed for 3 years. And so we're pretty excited that that's going to help Afghanistan. As they say, we're this close to eradicating polio from the face of the earth. We'd be the 2nd disease that has ever been eradicated. My brother had polio as a child, and for the last 30 years now, he's been struggling with a post-polio syndrome. So on the table, Kirk has put together little sign-up sheets, and we hope that you'll sign up and plan to make a donation to Kirk's ride. We have to turn in our final report to the Rotary Foundation on the 16th, which is next Thursday. So please do the honor of honoring Kirk and having vaccinations done in his honor for these children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for joining us. I don't know how I feel about putting Kirk's mug all over the place. I don't know if this is going to attract more riders or not, but thank you all the same for all the work. What's that? All right. We don't know what direction. We'll just let it be. But thank you, Charlotte, for all the work that you do. And Kirk, good luck on your new endeavor. That should be exciting on running that. So, all right. So let's see here. A few announcements. First and foremost, next week is our holiday party. So that is going to be taking place next Friday here at the Viscount. We're going to start at noon, about to 1:30. So it's just in lieu of our regular meeting. So that's going to be $30 per person. And this year, what we decided to do actually is to, instead of doing, I think we've done in the past, cans or toys for children, this year, if you could all bring personal hygiene items. So Bob Grady and Bobby D have been involved with NEED. And so in order to put together some baskets, these hope baskets. So please, that's kind of our cause this year. So if you can join us, please do so. Maria Elena has put together a most awesome program with the Pueblo High School Mariachi Group, which is the best ever. All right. There's some dispute here over which group is what, but I'll go with Maria Elena. So anyway, so please join us next week. It'll be fun. We'll have the whole room here, nice dessert bar and everything. So it should be a good time. Let's see, Andy, any, I know last week you had an announcement on the school books. Anything there? Any updates or?
My poor little Corvette sits outside in the cold because inside my garage, I've got 496 books. And I'm trying to make arrangements with Rachel Romero, the principal at Erickson School. And hopefully next week, I'll get an email out this weekend and hopefully I can get a little help and we can go over and make a presentation of 496 books for the 2nd and 3rd graders at Erickson School.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andy. Let's see here. Irv is not here, but the rodeo committee is putting things in motion. I know Arturo is coordinating things for the sign up, so hopefully you'll be able to sign up through, it's the same Sign Up Genius, is that? So keep an eye out for that so that we can get all the positions filled that we need to. As we've been saying previously, this is our one fundraiser this year. So it's really important for us to be there, manning the booths and getting the beer out and getting some tips into the jars. So let's see here. Bobby D, I think you have a couple of announcements.
As you know, we're ringing the bells at the Walmart tomorrow for the Salvation Army. Ringing bells, wishing shoppers happy holiday and thanking those who donate to the kettles. We do need some people. So if you have any time tomorrow, we could use up to 3 people from the noon to 2 p.m. slot and up to 2 people at the 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. slot. So if you can spare 2 hours tomorrow, let me know after the meeting. And secondarily, Andrew O'Sullivan has a potential project, and I just wanted to get a sense as to whether they'd be interested in doing this. But Habitat for Humanity has an opportunity for volunteering from 8:30 in the morning until, I think, 8 until 12:30 on Saturday, January 21st or 22nd, whichever it is. And I just wondered who might be interested in participating in that. They would like 15 volunteers. So Andy suggested that. So if that's something you might be interested in doing, could you raise your hands? You got to bang nails and follow instructions, and to do what they say. So could you raise those hands again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 22nd of January. From 8 in the morning until, so half a day, a little more than half a day. Okay, so it looks like we have 6 or 7, 8, 9. So it's worth pursuing, I think. Thank you.
Great. Well, stay tuned for that. We'll get some more information for that project. So another act of getting things done. Isn't that right, Kurt? Oh, wait, no, you're having fun. That was the part of it. Is there going to be fun there, Bobby D? All right, good. All right. As long as there's fun, that meets the criteria. Okay, stuff, fun, done, got it. All right. So on your tables, you will see it's that time of year. So this year, Matt, I don't know if there's any formality to the annual meeting, but it's that time of year. So on your table, you see some ballots there with positions for board positions for next year. And so I would ask all of you that are here present to please fill out a ballot and complete it and provide it to Matt. For all of you online, we will ask that you email Matt at secretary@Catalina.
I sent each of them an email with the ballot information in the body of the email. So if they just reply to that email, it copies you and me. So
perfect.
Look for that email, please, from what's his name? Charles Mathewson,
right,
at 66 at Gmail. And
check your spam folders, yeah.
And send it back, please, sometime today.
So the ballot or the polls will close today. So just to make that clear. So if you can please reply, or while we have you on Zoom here, if you can just move over to your email accounts and fill that out and send that back to Matt, please. And we will have the results announced shortly, I guess, later this weekend or maybe later next week. All right. So it's been a few weeks. Pablo, do we have a Queen of Hearts? Oh boy.
Thank you. All right, so we're up to $615. That's right. And we got 2 winners. One is great news and the other one not so great. The first one, we'll do it the great news first. Mr. Andy Kerr. Mr. Corvette himself. Made me feel sad about your poor Corvette. See what we got. We got Queen.
9 of spades.
9 of spades. Now the second winner, not so great news. I didn't plan this, but it was me. I bought 1 ticket. So let's see. I'm not going to draw myself. I think that's messed up. Yeah, shuffle it good. I got little magic tricks here. Don't worry about it.
Make sure there's not like 10.
There's 10 queen of hearts.
There it is. All right.
This one's good. The king. So I didn't win. All right, guys. Still going on, still going strong. You go online, buy some tickets. If you don't want to go online, and I'm here, which I'll be next Friday for the mariachis and all that, you could just, are we doing it next week? Or- Why not? Okay, if you want to do it next week, come to me and you could give me cash and I could put you in manually so you don't have to go through all the online stuff if that scares you or something. That's it. I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Pablo. So sorry, Andy. All right. Well, I'm going to turn things over to our Sergeant at Arms today. So Mr. Tom Robertson, if you wouldn't mind.
Welcome to Catalina Rotary, where no good deed goes unpunished. 'Tis the season to be jolly, generous, and rat out your fellow Rotarian if they told you anything at the table. Before I forget, just something, when I saw this photo, allegedly, this looks like Jed Fish after any Arizona football game this year. I mean, look at it. That's the coach, by the way. Those who, so for impersonating a football coach, I'm not sure if you want to put something in the can. So, and as long as we're talking, we got Kirk up here, just kind of a point of order. Appreciate past District Governor Pam mentioning his jersey, but point of order, he has on a cycling jersey, not a biking jersey. Hell's Angels wear biking jerseys. Cyclists wear cycling jerseys. Is that right, Charlotte? I mean, is that right? Speaking of which, Charlotte, good to see you. I had a nice conversation with Tim at the basketball game the other night. He had on a mask and so did I, so he was kind of hard to understand, but I think he said, you know, I know you don't normally find visiting Rotarians, but if my mother's there Friday, she'd probably love to put some money in the can. I'm not sure if he said that or not, but I think that's what he said. And your daughter-in-law shook her head up and down, so maybe it's true. Okay, so you know, kind of a big day this week, anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So well, when I, you know, most of you know I was in the Air Force, and on the 53rd anniversary, which is 94, actually, we took an airplane from the 41st CCS to Pearl Harbor. It was a very moving ceremony. We had a great time. I know it sounds pretty glamorous, but I was in a C-130, and we flew from here to Hickam Air Force Base, nonstop. We had to air refuel off the California coast to make it. So we were doing 245 knots true with a 50-knot headwind. I see Al shaking his head up and down there. It's 2,971 miles. So how long did it take us to get to Honolulu? Anybody know? Oh, Pat.
Knowing that true virgins make dull company.
That's right.
That I believe that probably it took you 15 hours and 8 minutes to make that.
Exactly. I'm amazed you knew that. Except that you did fly helicopters, so you're used to flying fairly slow. So for that, you are free from fines until we get to birthdays, okay? So thank you. Anyway, I bring that up because I happened to miss that meeting that day. And I was gonna pay up the next week, but the Sergeant of Arms got nixed because whoever the president was at that time let the program go too long. Who was the Sergeant of Arms in '94? If anybody knows, it's Al. Was that Gary Alper maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, I was gonna pay up back then, and with inflation being what it is, I'm not sure. Is it 6.8, 4.2, 2% over long haul? Anyway, instead of a buck, here's a double sawbuck. And if anybody wants to know what that is, ask Steve. All right, thank you. Let's see. So I looked down the list of birthdays and anniversaries, and I realized it's kind of early in December, but with supply chain problems and communications problems, et cetera, I thought I'd just cover the whole month to make sure that nobody, misses out. So I don't see Rich Henry here. Is he online by any chance? Okay, so double fine for not being here on his birthday. Pat Egbert, you have a birthday, or you had a birthday? Today. Yeah, today. Okay, congratulations.
Number 78, and I am happy, and I'll put a leg up for our foundation. I'm also happy that my son-in-law is recovering nicely from a triple bypass.
Oh, well, that's good news. Let's see, Paul Bennett, I think you have a birthday. Do birthdays stop when you retire? I don't know. You have to tell me. Sometimes? When you can remember, right?
I'm just waiting to see if the check clears next week from Social Security and if Medicare is really,
They tell me Social Security's gotten better since you can't go there in person, and now you got to do it over the phone and make an appointment.
And you can never make an appointment.
Oh,
you can do a drive-by. I went by there this morning.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'll do a leg up.
Thank you.
Next week, once I get through my birthday.
Okay, well, I'm just mentioning it ahead of time. Plus, I want to get the credit too. I don't want next sergeant to get credit. Let's see. Amanda Sandoval has a birthday. I can't remember what date it was. Yeah, December 8th. I'm going to tell you remembered. How many years you've been married? All right, that's good.
In honor of my wife, I'll do half a leg up.
Well, congratulations. I thought you were going to do something sly, like put some buy her a chance on the Queen of Hearts for next week or something. So, all right, let's see. Oh, Pat Egbert, you're on tap again. Congratulations on your anniversary, which is coming up. I just thought I'd mention it. You can pay it forward like all good Rotarians do. So
That's next Friday.
right, but since it's a Christmas party, chances are, or a holiday party, chances are we're going to forget it. So, all right, you've been warned. Okay, anybody bought any new cars? How about a SIM card for a new card? Is it cars? Anybody bought a SIM card for? That's a joke. Okay, never mind. Let's see. How about vacations? How was Mexico, Matt? You didn't think I was paying attention. Matt, whenever I ask a question at the table and I have a yellow sheet of paper and I'm taking notes, I mean, I'm just saying.
I noticed it too late.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We had a lovely time down in Rocky Point last long weekend, especially good because our son Michael from Walla Walla, Washington came down, and it was his first time down to the new place there. So I'll throw in some very happy bucks.
Thank you. And it's
I spent about 10 days ago in Inglewood, California.
okay.
Oh, okay. Everybody knows Inglewood if you don't, but yeah, I know. But the good news is I got to see the BTS concert.
Is that a boy band or
Korean K-pop.
Okay, there you go.
I suggest you Google.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the 70,000 that were there. They were there 4 nights and they're sold out. And I was the oldest one there.
Well, congratulations.
And I was questioned as standing in 4 hours in line. They all walked by me and one said, are you here with your granddaughter?
Well,
I said, no, ma'am, I'm lusting after him just like you.
Well,
So
if
I
you're
honor
standing
them.
in line for that long and it's a 4-day concert and you're the oldest person there, I'm sure it was really expensive to go.
Very.
Okay.
So I'll
Do you have any money left over?
No, but what's left, I'm.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'll send you a check.
So it's been kind of a funny year, and I know a lot of people maybe travel over Thanksgiving to visit families. I hadn't done that in a couple of years. How was Los Angeles, Bobby? Great. You have a good time? You didn't think I'd remember. That was 2
No,
weeks
that's a
ago.
good one.
Yeah.
Got to see
Took
our
shots.
grandson. It was
Shot.
great.
All right. Thank you. And then I think Crescent City is coming Arturo's way. You're going to be in the Crescent City. That's New Orleans, in case you don't know. Is that Crescent, the river that goes right past the French Quarter? You're going to be there this week, right? This coming week, yeah. Well, I thought I'd get you before you go down there to the convention because
That's right. I'll be there for our business convention for a few days. And when I get back on, I believe it's Friday, I hope to be able to make it here in time for the party.
with airline schedules where they are now, no, you need to pay a full.
Yeah, I know. I figured
You won't
that.
make it.
Maybe I'll send my family in instead. So, but then on the 14th, I will be celebrating my birthday.
Oh, congratulations.
You didn't put that down, did you?
Let me see here. Oh, yeah, Arturo. There you go.
I'll do a leg up.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And then, you know, Mike Trouton ratted out a Rotary, and I feel kind of bad about this because Andy complained about having his car parked outside, but on your Corvette, what's your vanity plate say?
Blue sky.
Oh, you must like it then, huh? I don't know. What do you think? Is that worth something?
Well, actually, I was going to do this under Happy Bucks.
Okay.
But
Happy Bucks. Anybody got a Happy Buck?
we are celebrating today our largest in-person attendance since July. And so I'm going to do a leg up in honor of all of us.
Congratulations. Thank you. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention this. I actually went on to myrotary.org and looked at my donation, past donations. And turns out that I'm really close to my next level, Paul Harris, which is, I'm proud of that. And I'm going to continue to contribute. But the big thing was I didn't have to call Al Chester to figure out how to get on the website. So thanks for all you've done, Al. Tony, you got a Happy Buck? Is Purdue ranked men's basketball? Are they number one?
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So I have a
flashback
happy
here.
buck for each day that the Purdue Boilermakers men basketball team was undefeated and ranked number one.
How long was that?
I said one per day. I'll throw in 5. But what's a team from New Jersey doing in the Big Ten anyhow?
That's because they couldn't get in the SEC. Yes.
Well, I'm so thrilled to be able to say go blue. And it's the first time in a long time that the University of Michigan beat Ohio State and won the Big Ten championship. So looking forward to them playing on December 31st and taking it all. And I'll do a leg up for that.
Well, congratulations. Thank you, Sharon. Generous as usual, the Chester family. M.
I've lived in Tucson for about 45 years, and yesterday was the first day that I went to the International Wildlife Museum with my younger daughter, Stephanie, and my grandson, Ezra, who's 3. And we just had a ball going around looking at all of the animals and, lizards and the bugs, insects. He loves bugs. And I picked him up and I said, Ezra, do you know what this big display, do you know what this bug is? It was about this big, black and white. He said, that's a Goliath beetle. I said, you're right. He loves his bugs.
Well, thank you. Yes.
I have mixed happy bucks.
Is that a sawbuck and a double sawbuck?
I moved down here in 2013 from Oxford, Michigan. And all those families that have been affected by that shooting, I know dozens of them, and many of those children that were affected, those students, we babysat, we had them in our church, in our programs. So in talking with a pastor from another church in that town yesterday, there's some healing going on. So those are my happy bucks. And my other happy bucks have to do with God providing some elk meat last Saturday morning at 7:15. We got about 100 pound of harvested elk meat.
Thank you. Okay, I'm kind of running out of time here. Pam.
Now for something completely different. Any of you that get the Wall Street Journal or read it online, as I was driving over here today to the meeting, I got 2 notices. Andy's aunt and uncle, Walter and Dawn Clark Netch. Walter designed a house in the 1970s, and the feature article in the mansion section of the Wall Street Journal today is how the couple that bought the house when his aunt passed away have continued to honor the architecture and the structure of the house.
Well,
Happy bucks.
That's pretty cool.
His first big commission was the Air Force Academy campus and the chapel. He was 35 when he got that with SOM Architectural Company.
Well, those, that sounds like pretty big shoes to fill. It's probably worth a little bit of money in the can. Thank you. Paul, one more?
Yeah, just real quick, since everybody's talking about basketball and so on, I'm going to go see the Kansas and Colorado up in Boulder in a couple of weeks with my kids. So,
well, thanks for paying it forward. All right, we'll see everybody next week. Thanks. Oh, I'm sorry. BJ.
I can keep it.
No.
Just excited to see my neighbor here since I missed his first visit, and to see Nandi, who I used to collaborate with quite a bit in my time at Tucson Clean and Beautiful. And I think I ran into a store on the east side recently, but I didn't have a chance to say hi either. So excited to see both of you here and to see a full room. I also just had thyroid surgery 2 weeks ago, and so I only have half a thyroid left, but that went very well. So I'm excited to get that beyond.
Good. Congratulations. Glad it went well. Okay, thank you.
Tom, most excellent. Thank you so much for doing such a good job in raising money for our foundation. So that's great for all of you to contribute to that, and for all the good and even our bad news to share with that, sharing that news together. So thank you all for joining me today. Thank you again, Stan. Pam, please pass along our thank yous to Stan for his presentation today. Of course, I want to say thank you to Steve and for Paul for taking the reins today for the hybrid team and for putting all that together. I want to thank Tom for joining us. Charlotte, thank you for joining us. Still undecided about the picture, but thank you for all the work that you've done there. Nandi, thank you so much for joining us as well. And Gabriel, it's good to see you. And Arturo, thank you for bringing him over. So with that said, I'd ask all of you to please rise and join me in reciting the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. It's coming. All right. So first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? See you next week, everybody. Thanks so much. I did. Yeah.